In this lesson, you're going to find the perimeter and area of rectangles and parallelograms. Any side of a rectangle or parallelogram can be chosen as the base. The height is measured along a line perpendicular to the base. If you notice in the rectangle, the height is the length of a side, but in a parallelogram, the side doesn't designate the height. The height, remember, has to be perpendicular to the base. So then to find the perimeter, that is going to be the distance around the outside of the figure. To find the perimeter, you add the lengths of all its sides. In this shape here, we have a rectangle that appears. Remember, this is a parallelogram, so everything that is on the opposite side is going to be the same length. So this side is going to be 14 because the bottom is 14. This side's going to be 5 because the other side is 5. So then to find the perimeter, all we have to do is add all four sides together. 14 plus 5 plus 14 plus 5, which we get 38. So the perimeter of this one is 38 units. Now pause the video and try the next one on your own. Now let's try another one together. This one's not quite a rectangle, it looks like, but it is also still a parallelogram. So to find the lengths of the sides of the parallelogram, remember, they're still the same as the opposite side. So if that one bottom's 20, the top's 20. If the side is 16, the other side is 16. And again, to find the perimeter, we add all the sides together. So we have the 20 plus the 16 plus the 20 plus the 16. When we add all those together, we get 72 units. So the perimeter of this second one, or I guess in your case the third one, is 72 units. Now you try the next one on your own. And in addition to finding the perimeter, we also want to find the area. The area is the number of square units in a figure. With a parallelogram, it can be cut and the cut piece is shifted to form a rectangle with the same base, length, and height as the original parallelogram. So if you notice, the area, which is written as a capital A, of a rectangle or parallelogram is the base length, B, times the height, H. A equals BH. And if you notice, you could kind of cut this part of the parallelogram off, and it would make it up right there, and you would still have your 5 by 13. That's what it means by a parallelogram can be cut and the cut piece shifted to form a rectangle. But also remember, you may have seen many times before it written as area equals length times width. That's another way of looking at it. Another way that you may see some of these problems is you may be given coordinate points, and you have to plot the points and figure out what the shape is and find out what the area is. So remember, we move left and right before we go up and down. So -3, we're going to the left 3 and then down 2. Then right 1, down 2. Over 1, up 3. Over to the left 3, up 3. And if you notice, that's going to be a rectangle. Now if you go ahead and draw your lines, you will get a rectangle that resembles this. And if you look, you can count how many squares to find out the base, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4 units, and the height, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. Now remember that area equals the base times the height. So in this case, area equals 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20, so the area of this rectangle is going to be 20 units. Now pause the video and try the next one on your own. Let's try another one together. Let's plot these points. You've got 0, 0, 5, 0, 6, 4, and 1, 4. This one isn't quite straight up and down, so it's not a rectangle, but we know it's a parallelogram. If you go ahead and connect your dots, you'll get a shape that looks kind of like this. But even with it being a parallelogram, since it's on the graph, we can find what the base and the height is. Again, let's just call the bottom the base, and going from 0 to 5, it's going to be 5 units. Now remember that the height is not the length of the side, it's perpendicular to the base. So draw a line perpendicular to the base. And now you can find the height of that line. In this case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So to find the area, remember, of a parallelogram, it's going to be the same. It's the base times the height. In this case, again, it's going to be 5 times 4, which is going to give us an area of 20 units. Now go ahead and pause the video and try the next one on your own. These next two shapes aren't on your notes, but just watch as we can find out what the area is by using this grid of these irregular shapes. If you're looking at this irregular shape, you'll notice that not all the boxes are quite full. But if you can imagine, you could maybe take this little piece and maybe put it right there so that that box was full. And we might be able to cut off this piece here to kind of fill in that box and fill in that box. And then you would just have to count how many shapes are kind of full. In this case, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units. So the area of this irregular shape would be about 10 units. If you look at this next one, it's quite a bit different, but you can still kind of imagine if you cut off this section here and kind of put it over here, or if you cut off this section here, that's about the same area as that section. And maybe if we cut off this section, we could attach it over here and just kind of figure out how much it is roughly if we were looking at this. So if you go ahead and count the squares, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. About 19 units is an approximation of how many units the area of this irregular shape is. But we can also use this when we're looking at other shapes that we do know what they are. If you look at this shape, you wouldn't know how to find the area of this irregular shape. But if you were to break it up into shapes that you know, like if I drew a line here and here, we would have rectangles, and you know how to find the area of those. But first off, we've got to figure out what the lengths of this missing bottom is. So let's see. With this rectangle, we know this bottom is going to be 6. Again, this bottom will be 6. And this bottom will be 6. So if we add all those together, we get that the length of this whole side is 18. And remember, to find the perimeter, all we have to do is add all the sides together. So if I just start at the bottom and work my way around, I can find out that it's 18 and then 5, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6, and 5. Now if we add all of those together, we are going to get 1,114 units. So the perimeter of this shape is going to be 1,114 units. Now to find the area, we already have it broke up into shapes that we know how to find the area of. Remember, this is just a rectangle with base of 6, height of 5. You take 6 times 5, you get an area of 30. If you take this one, it's also 6 times 5, so the area of this one is 30. Now the problem is here on this little one in the center is we don't know what the height is. We know the base is 6, But we know that this section right here is 3. And we know the whole thing is 5, so we know this little section right here is going to be 2. So it's got a base of 6, height of 2. So to find the area of that shape, we know it's 6 times 2, which is 18. Now we have the area of all 3 of these shapes. Now if you add all those areas together, you will find the total area of this figure. When we add those all together, we get 78. So we get the area is 78 units. Now you try the last one on your own, and when you're done, bring up your notes so that I can check them. Good luck.